For thousands of years there was one mystery that united every civilization in the Milky Way: the human flag. It was not the largest banner in the galaxy, nor the oldest, nor the most technologically advanced. Yet every empire, every pirate fleet, every mercenary guild, and every ancient species reacted the same way whenever its blue, white, and crimson colors appeared on scanners. Admirals ordered immediate retreats. Planetary governors surrendered without negotiation, and even the ruthless Void Swarm, creatures that had consumed entire star systems without mercy, altered their course rather than cross its path. Strangely, almost no one remembered why. The original reason had vanished into legends so old that they became myths, replaced by whispers, half-forgotten warnings, and stories passed from one frightened generation to the next. Young alien cadets laughed at these tales in military academies, believing them to be outdated superstitions. They claimed humans were merely another intelligent species with capable ships and stubborn soldiers. After all, humanity occupied only a modest corner of the Orion Arm and rarely interfered in galactic politics. Their diplomats preferred peace, their traders honored contracts, and their explorers often helped developing civilizations without demanding tribute. To the younger races, the fear surrounding the human flag seemed absurd. Among those skeptics was Commander Zeril of the mighty Zareth Dominion, whose empire possessed fleets that dwarfed human defenses 100 times over. Ambitious and proud, Cyril believed the ancient fear existed only because earlier civilizations lacked modern weapons. Determined to prove himself, he proposed invading a small human frontier colony known as Haven 17, a peaceful mining world protected by only a handful of patrol ships. The Dominion Senate hesitated. Their oldest counselors silently stared at an ancient tapestry hanging behind the throne, a faded depiction of a strange human banner surrounded by burning stars. None of them could explain its meaning, yet every instinct screamed that attacking under that flag would awaken something terrible. Cyril mocked their caution, calling it the weakness of aging politicians haunted by children's stories. His proposal was approved. Within weeks, 2,000 Dominion warships emerged from hyperspace above Haven 17. Their arrival darkened the sky, and the terrified colonists prepared for annihilation. The human governor refused to surrender. Instead, she walked calmly onto the roof of the Colonial Administration building, carrying an old fabric flag folded carefully in her arms. Unlike the holographic standards used across the galaxy, this banner was woven from real cloth, faded by centuries, stitched by human hands. As Dominion drones recorded the scene, the governor slowly raised the flag into the cold planetary wind. Every human on the colony immediately stopped running. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Children stood silently beside their parents. Even the elderly straightened their backs. Across the settlement, every citizen turned toward the flag and saluted. A Dominion officer laughed, assuming this was some meaningless ritual before surrender. Then every communication array across known space activated at once. A single encrypted message spread faster than light, through channels no civilization knew humanity possessed. It contained only 6 words: "The flag has been raised again." The transmission reached human colonies separated by tens of thousands of light years. Farmers abandoned harvests, scientists shut down experiments, merchants locked their stores. Politicians ended debates mid-sentence. Space stations suspended all departures except one. Everywhere the same response unfolded. Ancient vaults hidden beneath mountains, oceans, moons, and asteroids opened simultaneously. Massive warships that historians believed existed only in myths powered up for the first time in thousands of years. Their hulls bore no names, only the same human flag painted across their armor. Entire fleets emerged from secret shipyards concealed inside dead stars and black nebulae. Artificial intelligences older than most civilizations awakened from silent watch, acknowledging one command that had remained unchanged since humanity first reached the stars: protect the flag. Unknown to the rest of the galaxy, humanity had made a promise 10,000 years earlier during the first galactic cataclysm. In that forgotten age, an extra-dimensional force known as the Devourers invaded reality itself. Countless advanced civilizations collapsed within weeks. Fleets numbering in the millions vanished. Worlds that had stood for millions of years became dust. Every species fought for itself until humanity proposed an impossible alliance. Under one banner, the human flag, They united thousands of races, sacrificing Earth, Mars, and dozens of human core worlds to seal the Devourers beyond reality. Nearly 99% of humanity perished during the final battle, but the surviving species were saved. The survivors, overwhelmed by grief and guilt, erased many records of the catastrophe to prevent future generations from awakening the horrors again. Over millennia, memories faded, alliances crumbled, new empires rose. Yet one law remained hidden inside every ancient database and military protocol: never challenge the human flag. Nobody remembered writing the command, but everyone obeyed it instinctively. Commander Zyril knew none of this. He ordered the invasion to begin. Thousands of plasma lances descended toward Haven 17. Before a single shot struck the surface, space itself rippled. Hundreds of enormous human warships exited hyperspace without forming jump signatures. Then thousands more appeared. Then tens of thousands. Their arrival ignored every known law of physics. Some vessels were larger than moons. Others were sleek black destroyers surrounded by shimmering gravitational distortions. Ancient carrier fleets released swarms of autonomous fighters unlike anything the Dominion had ever encountered. Every ship carried the same flag. Silence filled every Dominion bridge. Veterans who had left minutes earlier now stared in frozen disbelief. Then the oldest Dominion navigator collapsed to his knees, tears streaming from eyes that had witnessed 5 centuries of war. "I remember," he whispered. The stories were true. Across the galaxy, countless elderly beings experienced the same forgotten memories returning like broken chains snapping apart. Ancient trauma buried for millennia resurfaced. They remembered humanity standing alone against impossible darkness while every other civilization fled. They remembered human soldiers holding collapsing front lines until the last child escaped. They remembered the final order spoken by the supreme human commander before sacrificing Earth itself. As long as this flag flies, no civilization fights alone. Suddenly, every major galactic government transmitted emergency orders to the Dominion, demanding immediate withdrawal. Pirate kings abandoned profitable raids and rushed toward human space, not to fight, but to apologize. Merchant coalitions halted trade routes. Religious leaders declared days of remembrance. Millions realized they had unknowingly lived beneath a peace purchased by human blood long before their own civilizations existed. Commander Zyril ignored every warning and fired the first shot. The plasma beam never reached Haven 17. One human flagship activated a shield so immense it surrounded the entire solar system. Then came no retaliation, no devastating counterattack, only a single communication. An elderly human admiral appeared on every Dominion screen wearing an old naval uniform, decorated with faded metals impossible to identify. His voice carried no anger, only profound sadness. 10,000 years ago, he said softly, we promised the galaxy that this flag would never again become a symbol of war. It would stand only when every peaceful choice had failed. Today you forced us to raise it. The admiral raised one hand. Instantly, every Dominion weapon shut down. Artificial intelligences refused hostile commands. Engines lost power. Ammunition transformed into harmless metallic dust through technologies beyond comprehension. Human forces boarded no ships and fired no guns. They simply removed every possibility of violence. Entire battle fleets drifted powerless while human engineers quietly restored damaged civilian stations caught in the crossfire. Zyril finally understood the greatest truth hidden beneath the ancient fear. Civilizations did not fear the human flag because humans were cruel conquerors. They feared it because its appearance meant humanity had exhausted every peaceful solution. And history proved that whenever humans reached that point, they always ended the conflict completely, not through genocide or oppression, but by ensuring no aggressor could ever threaten the innocent again. The Dominion surrendered within hours. Instead of demanding tribute, humanity helped rebuild its economy, shared medical technology, restored damaged ecosystems, and forgave every soldier willing to lay down arms. Years later, children across thousands of worlds learned the true history once more. Museums displayed the ancient banner not as a symbol of conquest but of sacrifice, courage, and the promise that someone would always stand between civilization and extinction. Whenever diplomats visited Earth, they paused before the original flag preserved beneath crystal glass. Its colors had faded, its fabric worn by countless hands, yet it remained the most respected object in the known universe. And from that day forward, Every species finally understood why the human flag inspired such overwhelming fear, not because it represented humanity's strength, but because it reminded the galaxy of the unimaginable price humans had willingly paid so that every other civilization could have a future beneath the stars. The surrender of the Zareth Dominion should have marked the end of the crisis, but instead it awakened something far older than any living civilization had imagined. Deep within the empty space between galaxies, beyond the mapped borders of known reality, ancient sensors hidden inside forgotten human outposts detected a signal that had not echoed through the void in over 10,000 years. It was the same frequency emitted by the Devourers during the first galactic cataclysm. Across humanity's secret command network, red warning lights illuminated vaults that had remained dark since Earth's greatest sacrifice. The elderly admiral who had saved Haven 17 stared silently at the incoming data. His expression, calm only moments before, grew heavy with the burden of memories no ordinary human could carry. "So they heard the flag," he whispered. "They found us again." Far beyond the galactic rim, space itself began to crack like shattered glass. Gigantic black fractures spread across the darkness, revealing an endless abyss where stars simply ceased to exist. From those impossible rifts emerged colossal shapes that defied geometry. Their bodies appeared to be made of living shadows wrapped around collapsing stars, and every movement distorted time itself. Entire constellations vanished behind their silhouettes. These were not merely enemies. They were the architects of extinction, the beings responsible for erasing civilizations long before recorded history. The Devourers had not been destroyed during the first galactic cataclysm. Humanity had merely imprisoned them outside reality, sacrificing billions of lives to seal the gateway. Now the raising of the human flag had released an ancient energy signature that the monsters had finally traced back to the Milky Way. Their return carried only one purpose: finish the war they had lost 10 millennia earlier. Panic swept across every galactic government as observatories captured the impossible sight. The Devourers ignored planets, fleets, and empires. They flew directly toward humanity's borders as though only one species mattered. Emergency councils demanded explanations, and for the first time in 10,000 years, humanity revealed the complete truth. Hidden beneath Earth's ruins was the Archive of Remembrance, an underground city preserved beneath kilometers of crystalline armor. Inside rested every record deliberately erased after the cataclysm. Representatives from every major civilization were invited to witness history. Massive holograms filled the chamber, revealing humanity's forgotten past. They watched as ancient human fleets fought alone against endless darkness while thousands of allied species escaped through evacuation gates. They saw Earth deliberately overload its own stellar core to strengthen the prison, sealing the Devourers outside reality. They witnessed children boarding refugee ships while human soldiers remained behind, knowing they would never leave. Most heartbreaking of all, they saw the final transmission from Supreme Commander Elena Ward. Standing beneath the human flag as Earth burned behind her, she smiled despite certain death and spoke words that echoed across history. If one species must be remembered as monsters, so that every other child can grow up beneath peaceful skies, let it be us. History may forget our names, but let it never forget this promise: we will stand until the last star falls. When the recording ended, silence filled the archive. Alien leaders who had once questioned humanity now stood with tears in their eyes. Some fell to their knees. Others removed symbols of office and placed them beneath the ancient flag in silent respect. Commander Ziril, now stripped of rank, stepped forward and bowed his head. "Our ancestors survived because yours refused to surrender," he said quietly. "We forgot everything, except our fear. We remembered the warning but lost the reason." The elderly admiral nodded. "That is why we never corrected you. Fear kept the peace. We hoped the flag would never need to rise again." Unfortunately, hope alone could not stop what was coming. Within days, the first Devourer fleet reached the edge of the galaxy. Entire stars dimmed as the creatures consumed their energy. Planets were swallowed whole without explosions or debris, simply erased from existence as though they had never been born. Even the Dominion's mighty armadas, once considered unstoppable, disappeared within minutes. Their weapons passed harmlessly through the creatures while the Devourers dismantled reality itself. Despair spread faster than the invasion. Then, on the 7th day, A transmission appeared simultaneously on every screen, every communicator, every ship, and every city throughout the galaxy. It displayed nothing except the human flag gently waving against the stars. Beneath it appeared a single message translated into every known language. This time, we stand together. For the first time in history, every civilization answered the call. Ancient rivals ended wars overnight. Pirate fleets became supply escorts. Merchant guilds converted freighters into hospitals. Scientists freely shared technologies once protected by centuries of secrecy. Millions of volunteers from thousands of species joined human commanders without hesitation. The human flag no longer flew over human ships alone. One by one, every fleet raised its own version beside it, not as a symbol of human dominance, but as a declaration that the promise made 10,000 years earlier now belonged to the entire galaxy. As the combined armada assembled around the restored ruins of Earth, countless banners fluttered beside the original human flag. The galaxy had finally remembered why every species once feared it, not because it announced humanity's arrival, but because it marked the moment when ordinary beings chose to stand against impossible darkness together, no matter the cost. And as billions watched from distant worlds, the ancient flagship Resolve ignited engines that had slept for 10,000 years, leading the greatest fleet ever assembled toward the approaching Devourers, where the final battle for every star was about to begin.